to get said masking agent, and you spray the masking agent in the air. That's why they call it a masking agent. You're just masking the odor. You're not attacking the problem like our friends at Lemonize Service do with their proven scientific formula. Pricing very, very easy, one of two ways, either by the cubic foot or parts per million, and come up with a price that's affordable for you, offering results in 24 hours or less. Any other questions you may have frequently asked or otherwise, this is why when I grab my pen, go to the website over my left shoulder. You see it right there, lemonize.com. But do us a favor. Add /Atlanta after the .com so they know what part of the world that you are addressing them from so they can help you with your issue. Full homework assignment. ELIMINIZE.com/Atlanta, lemonize.com/Atlanta. Lemonize Service, proud sponsors of everything SDH as we go screaming from hour number 1 into hour number 2 for Thursday Thoughts. And traditionally, since it is the last Thursday of the month, unless I am swamped or unless I forget, it is time to bring in Kaylor Hodges, part of our friends from the USL show, and we get to talk all things USL. So, Kaylor, ? What is up?
Hey, not too much, not too much. It's been busy into the season, especially with the also famous USL roster freeze, not deadline day, because that is oh so very different with the equally catchy phrase.
Yes.
It's been a lot to keep up with, lots of big results last night and, going from the week before and trying to wrap your head around it. It's been a lot, but hey, that's what we're here to attempt to do, right?
So, all right. So, roster freeze. Who made some moves off the top of your head that might help for this next couple of weeks to push things over the line to get desired results? Did anybody do anything that was earth-shattering or eyebrow-raising at all?
Two that were definitely one that was eyebrow raising for the wrong reason, and one that was definitely earth shattering, or two kind of earth shattering, really. Are first, let's start with a good one. Let's go up to our friends up slightly north from, and I guess east of Atlanta, to Charleston, and
Well, that's Charleston is
a little south.
southeast.
Yeah,
So go Savannah and then up, so southeast.
I drove there from Atlanta. I should know that. Whatever. But they get Mark Segbers and from Miami, which the deal had kind of been done already, but Segbers gets his one last ride with Miami, gets a win for them. And Segbers to Miami's or to Charleston's interesting because they've had Dotson, who's been filling in a decent, right back role, but Segbers is a kind of a different caliber, and that's kind of rude to say of Dotson, to be honest, because Dotson's been really good, but Segbers is a guy that slots into every single team in the USL, and he gets to reunite with his former coach, Ben Pierman, and it feels like another match made in heaven for a team that doesn't need it. One that was shocking, and it kind of brought a massive question mark over the entire regime of San Antonio. When you look at Marsman, who came in from Inter Miami to San Antonio,
Yep.
you replace Jordan Farr, who is still top 5 goalkeeper in the league, seemingly gets benched for Marsman, who some people are debating on whether they are getting Marsman his 5 appearances needed to be on the playoff roster, because in order for you to be on the playoff roster, you have to have 5 appearances.
Okay.
I think goalkeepers are a little bit weird. I think you can technically have bench appearances, and that counts for them because if you have a GK1, I don't know. The rules are confusing. But Marsman, he's been starting, and a lot of people think that's because so he can be on the playoff roster. But this is also getting to the very end where San Antonio is pushing for the top of the league, and they get home field advantage. When you want your GK1 Jordan Farr hot into the playoffs, which a lot of people are saying, does this mean that Jordan Farr is done? Which after his heroics of last year, you want someone with that kind of ice in their veins in the playoffs, don't you?
Yeah.
And then the last one is Memphis. And Memphis made the decision to bring in Richard Sanchez. And as polite as I can say this, Memphis has a knack for bringing in the worst goalkeepers they possibly can. According to my statistics, mine and John Morrissey's disagree a little bit.
Yeah.
but there is one person that has been the unanimous worst goalkeeper in the league, and that has been Richard Sanchez.
I thought you were going to say Bill Hamid.
Bill Hamid was there for a minute. He had a good stretch, but that also coincided with their defense being competent. And then you have Drew Romig, who has been better. And according to John, the third worst goalkeeper in the league. To me, I think he's still my numbers having him around like bottom 8, not bottom 3 still. And you're wondering, are you replacing Romig with Sanchez, who's been the worst goalkeeper in the league? And you're upsetting a guy who shows that he has a lot of potential. And if you were going after a goalkeeper, why wouldn't you go after the one that San Antonio just got in Marsman, right? If he was available. And it's a really confusing move that doesn't seem to be doing anybody any good.
And you look at what Memphis is doing right now. Actually, let's go back a team at a time here. You mentioned San Antonio. San Antonio is chasing after number 1 in the West. Same number of matches played, same number left, obviously, as Sacramento. And they're the only 2 teams that are currently in the Western Conference. And yes, I did just use air quotes. But San Antonio unbeaten in their last 3. Sacramento stumbled their last time out. 1 point difference with Sacramento leading San Antonio right now. And they've got some space between themselves, that group number 1, and then the street fight in the West that is going to last the rest of the season. For the record, what is the tiebreaker when it comes to points? How many different directions do we go here? Because Loyal, Phoenix Rising, and Orange County are all at 47 points. Loyal have 13 wins. Phoenix Rising have 12, but they've got a better goal difference on the other 2. But Orange County has more wins than the other 2. What's the damn tiebreaker?
I think it's goal difference. We have looked this up so many times, and every year it changes from head to head to goal difference. But it should be goal difference, and then it goes head to head, we think.
Because all right, so here's the West, and I know that traditionally we start with the East because that's where we are, and then we go to the West. But because the West is so chaotic right now, Loyal, Phoenix, and Orange County, they are your 3, 4, 5. Switchbacks, who are like the shooting gallery game that you play at the county fair, where literally you hit the duck and the duck goes the opposite direction. You hit the duck again and it goes back. That's been their season. It's like they'll win a lot, then they'll lose a lot. Colorado right now, 46 points. They are a point back in 6th. Then there's that third group of folks trying to get in where you've got 5 teams separated by 4 points. Roots, Monterey Bay, Roots are ahead, same number of wins. They're ahead on goal difference at 41 points. Picked the worst time to lose 4 in a row before the draw last time out. Monterey Bay is at 41 points. That's your playoff bar. Then below that, 40 points for El Paso Locomotive. RGV have won 2 in a row to get to 38. New Mexico United have hit each column in the last 3, and they're at 37. This is chaos in the West.
Yeah, I think if you're looking for something to hold on to, and you mentioned Colorado Springs, I think we've all kind of decided on the USL show that they're the most confusing team in the USL because they're good, they're bad, they're good, they're bad, they're really bad, they're really good, and then it's like, okay, who are we this week? You also have you have Oakland Roots, who you still believe in what they have when you look at players, you look at their goalkeeping, you say, I believe in this. And in the end, when you get to that part of the bookends of the season, you start to say, I think I understand.
I think I understand.
And then you have Monterey Bay, who they are interesting as well. They had a point where Alex Dixon could not stop scoring.
Yep.
And then they got cold, really cold. And then we don't really know where they are, but they feel like they're getting into a decent part of the schedule where they can shore up the end. El Paso, I think a lot of El Paso fans have shown defeat despite being in, despite being close to being in, because they don't believe in the defensive depth. And it's like, what's going on? We don't know. I think that if I were to pick the final, like, I guess, 3 teams,
Sure. Good luck with that.
I think it would be who's in now, and
Okay.
I think that the only team that could squeak their way in, I think is going to be actually RGV.
Huh.
They've been on a small, albeit 2 games is still a winning streak, but they've been on a small winning streak. They look good while doing it, and I think that helps, but also they haven't had the juice all year, and it's kinda hard to see them really fighting, but I think that if it's going to be anybody, it's going to be this one.
Chaos in the Western
Yeah.
Conference. So we go to the East, and I know that you guys had a rather interesting guest last time out from the Eastern
Mhm.
Conference. What was it like to hear from that particular coach?
Yeah, so on Tuesday, we talked to Ben Pierman, the head coach of, Charleston Battery and also, 2022 Coach of the Year. Um, he's a open guy.
Oh yeah.
I think that was one of the things that
Did
I
you have
think.
to hit your explicit warning on the show after you put it to tape?
No, no, we don't do one of those. We love to keep everybody as open as possible, and,
Okay.
yeah, when we talked, I think a lot of people who listened for the first time were like, "Whoa,
Mhm.
this guy's very honest." And it's not in a like he's going to drag everybody down. It's just you don't hear coaches talk about their philosophy very often, right? And his philosophy, he was open with it, was I am setting up the club to run without me. If I were to disappear for 2 months and I come back, it's like nothing happened. That's how he wants to run things. And I think that explains a lot of the consistency of Charleston this year, where if he had to leave, if a star player had to leave, like Fidel Barajas gets called up for international duty, it's okay. Augie Williams gets called up for international duty again, because he's kind of good at the soccer thing. I think people were like, yeah, that's okay. And it doesn't matter. And I think that's what's helped Charleston this year. And I think it put a lot into really big context of why they've been so consistent. He was a really interesting coach to talk to, and one of the more interesting conversations I think we've had when in terms to coaching, because so many of them, the USL's not big into coach speak. I think that the USL is a little bit more open because they don't have to. It's not like you're having to respond to ESPN, right? And you're not having to give coach speak, but he was more candid than most coaches, and it was a really fun chat.
We have someone in our Twitch pitch who is doing the Lord's work, and we love them for it. Tiebreakers in USL, head to head, and then goal difference in head to head. So
See, that I feel like it was different last. Thank you, Harry. I think it was different last year. I think it changes all the time. Dumb.
yeah, Kaler head to head first with Harry. Harry's like tiebreakers achieved by the following criteria in order of importance. I feel like I have to read it in this voice. Head to head points earned in regular season games, and then 2 goal difference in head to head matches. Damn, Harry. I mean, you make my head hurt with all this kind of stuff. But head to head points earned in regular season games, then goal differential in head to head matches. So thanks to our San Antonio contingent who are clearing us up on this. Eastern Conference. Now that we're talking about it, 5 teams are in. We know 5 teams are in. We just don't know the order. Pittsburgh, Tampa, Charleston, separated by 4 points. Tampa had a big loss in the week to Memphis. Speaking of Memphis, you mentioned Memphis, 49 points, and they are ahead of Lou City in your 4-5, and then you get group number 3. Indy 11, who picked the wrong time to go 3 winless. They're at 42 and 6th. Your hometown Birmingham Legion are doing the same thing, so they're not making up any ground on the boys in blue right now, winless in your last 3, 40 points. Detroit City, who I don't know which version of them I'm going to get. They are the Forrest Gump box of chocolates when it comes to Detroit City. You don't know which version you're getting with them right now. They're the last team in at 37. FC Tulsa had a 3-game unbeaten string snapped last time out. They're at 36. The Miami FC, courtesy of your buddy Mark Segbers, wins 2 in a row. They're now back up to 35. Loud and Hartford are out the door. And Nick Sikevich, now part of the front office in Hartford from last time I had conversations with Nick was when he was the commissioner of the National Lacrosse League, but now he's going to try to turn Hartford around. When you look at the three groups in the East, what do you see?
I mean, the top is the top. I think it'd be stupid, frankly, to say that anybody but Pittsburgh is going to go through as the top seed. I mean, maybe that's harsh, but also they just seem to be the class of the East. But Charleston is right there with them. But I feel like Charleston dropped points where they shouldn't have, and they kind of lost their chance. You mentioned Tampa Bay, a big loss to Memphis, but also they get a big loss. They get a big win to Hartford last night.
Is any win a big win over Hartford?
No,
expected, shouldn't it?
Hartford doesn't count. I'm going to say something that is completely rude and might be seen as just wrong.
But that's what
feel like
that's what we're here for.
I feel like it's harder to lose to Hartford than it is to lose to Las Vegas. And I know Las Vegas has so many more losses, but also Hartford's just like not competitive.
I mean, but Vegas, we have seen Vegas be competitive and come up and surprise folks in the West. Yeah.
Yeah, but Hartford is bless them. Yeah,
spoken like a true Southerner. Bless them.
I think you had to take Pittsburgh. Tampa Bay, Memphis, Charleston, they could flip-flop around. I think Memphis and Lou City are just kind of could flip around, but also Memphis seems like they're in a good stretch. They are going to be playing against Birmingham in a Southern Harm Derby this Saturday at home, and you should back Memphis if we're being honest. I mean, they have goals that they can score for fun, and meanwhile, Lou City, like you're looking ahead for Lou City, and maybe you don't believe as much in the boys in purple, which seems like a mental thing to say. I think when you get to Indy, I think you should believe in Indy. Have they been a little bit cold lately? Yeah, but also I think you believe in it. I think you should. As for the last two, when you're looking at your Detroit cities and your Birminghams, I still trust Detroit City in a weird way. I really like the back line, and I know it did not come out for Colorado Springs, but again, Colorado Springs is a team that once they remember, oh yeah, we have really good wingers, they score. But sometimes they forget, hey, we can run up the wings, and that's okay. That's allowed. And for Birmingham, I think that they're going to make the playoffs. It's no guarantees. There are no guarantees at all.
Wow.
But I think they are. I think that your teams on the outside looking in are going to be your Tulsas. I think Tulsa could also sneak their win, and I know that's kind of a cop out. They could, but I don't trust it as much. Now, a team like Miami, I think they left it a little bit late, but if Jake McGuire, not obviously having a match like he did this last time, you can't do that every single time. Not even, I mean, he came out looking like Brian Gigi Buffon, but he can't do that every time. But if he's half as good as that for the rest of the season, he may give Miami a fighting chance.
Halftime with Kaylor Hodges and our friends at the USL Show. They come to join us traditionally the last Thursday of every month, where we get to hang out and kind of look at the month that was, unless I forget or we're really busy with stuff with Major League Soccer, or we end up with a truncated schedule. You realize, of course, that since the schedule ends before the end of next month, you're going to come back sooner next month when it comes to things. That's all right. I just wanted to give that. That's your halftime notice. All right, halftime. What we always like to do is do red light, yellow light, green light. And we do that with you, and we do that with the guest that follows, Nico Moreno, on the Major League Soccer side. And I explained it this way. When you're standing at that intersection with your car, the stoplight can go one of three ways. Red light basically means that your car is stuck there at the intersection, the hood is up, transmission goes down, and you want to hit the gas pedal and everything just blows up right there. You are in serious trouble. Yellow light, we take it to mean one of two ways. It means that you're kind of sitting there and you're slowing down to the stoplight. you kind of hear the brakes, or at least you think you hear the brakes, and you might need to replace your brake pads, or you're confident that you can make it through the intersection and work your way down the road and be safe about it. Green light, forget it. Everything's cool. No worries. I'm confident my car's in the best shape humanly possible, and I don't have to worry about things. What direction do you want to start with this week to go? Do you want to go red light to green light? Do you want to go green light to red light?
I think the way I've done this, I want to end on happy notes, I guess. So I'm going to start with
start with your red light. Who's your red light this week?
My red light this week. I mean, I guess it'd be a layup to say Hartford. So I'm going to try, I guess, go a little bit more hot takey, I suppose. This one hurts me to say, but I think I'm a little bit red light on El Paso.
Okay.
And El Paso's a team that I really like. I like the talent they have on the team. Their back line is really good. Dolan Mayer, who's come in recently, has been a real, spark of life. Mark Navarro is ridiculous. McHugh's really good, but I just struggle to see where the goals are coming from right now. And I know they have Zacharias, they have Solonyak, they have Garcia that scored, they have Gomez that scored, but it feels like the well might have run dry, and they're coming up on some other teams like Charleston, who it's so hard to see them getting results. I'm begrudgingly saying I'm red light on El Paso.
All right. Yellow light, once again, can go from someone who is going from green to red, or someone who is improving from red to green. What is your yellow light this week?
I think my yellow light, I'm thinking I'm going to stay over onto this side. I am going to go yellow light with the San Diego Loyal.
Okay.
I think that you're getting to the end of the season, and we all know what the end of the season means for San Diego this year, and that hurts to say. But I also think that there's going to be a lot of juice in the building. I think there's going to be a lot of big fan turnout, and I think that final push, the literal final push of the club, I think is going to push them maybe not to a USL final, but at least to a very strong showing for the Loyal.
Okay. And since you mentioned that, I'll reserve that as a sidebar coming up and after we go through green light. So what's the last category, and who's got it this time?
I guess I'm just a Western Conference guy this week. I'm just going green light on Phoenix. They're just scoring goals for fun. Like, I did this on Tuesday on the USL show, and I'm going to pull it up really fast, but they're attacking like 4 players, their midfield and their strikers. It's ridiculous. You have Danny Trejo on the left, not that one. You have Harvey in the middle. You have Jose Hernandez in the middle. You have Armanakis on the right side, and then you have Arteaga up top. That's disgusting. Between Armanakis, Arteaga, and Trejo, that's every team's dream 3 going forward, and they just have them. They're so good, and I think they're getting hot at the right time.
All right, so since you mentioned San Diego, let's talk San Diego for a minute. And because by the next time we talk, it will be their last playoff run. They'll be their last this, their last that, all these kinds of things. When you look at San Diego and what they were able to do in their tenure there, what do you think the San Diego Loyals' legacy will be when it comes to USL Championship and to the sport in San Diego?
This one's hard because I think for the fans, their legacy is that they did everything right. I think to the fans, they show that they have a front office that was vocal, that was present, that was San Diego. They became their community. And for fans, I think you say they did everything right. I also think that their legacy could, in the end, be a cautious tale for owners. Because if you do things too right, you prove to other entities that we can come in and poach your market. And It's
Well,
not.
but is it Is it really poaching though? If a league wants to come in, if somebody wants to come into a first division setup, sit there and drop $500 million and go, is it poaching? I mean, I could see there are other markets where we've had stuff where teams have coexisted, and the Loyal admitted that they looked up and down the San Diego area, tried to find something of a solution and couldn't find it. I mean, there have been markets where you have had first and lower divisions coexist, though.
y- yes and no, because I think that's one of those things that you say would have a first division league come in without USL showing that it can work, right? And I think everybody could assume that San Diego, yes, it would. I think everybody could assume that, but you don't know. Um, I think I think the term poaching, it just kind of obviously it's a little harsh, but also I come from the USL world, right? Where we I don't like saying this, but we get a little bit little brother sometimes, and we're like, no, take us seriously, and like take us so seriously. We believe in what we're doing, and it it just felt like all this momentum had come to a grinding halt because yes, we have seen teams coexist with MLS at the same time, but have they? I mean, the only one I can really think off the top of my head is you have Charlotte and Miami, and neither one of them are coexisting. They are struggling. They are fighting for survival.
Well, I mean, if let's take the Miami example, and Miami is at Ricardo Silva, and it's a facility that I think that if teams look at things in their own sphere and cater to their own audience. Morning, Patricia. Thanks for hanging out. I think that you can if you look in your own sphere and try to build from there, go stable first and then work your way out. I know folks are going to sit there and look at shiny object and all those kinds of things. Charlotte's a shiny object, but I think that if I think that both can exist if, say, Charlotte focuses on their audience and Charlotte went down to League One before they came back up confident enough to be in USL Championship, and so you've seen all of these things drift, back and forth. Where, sorry, I had that reversed. They were in Championship, went down to League One, and I think they're coming back. So they're that confident in themselves. The Miami FC, not to be confused with a Miami FC, they are the Miami FC.
That's true.
I think that in Boca Raton, I think that if you focus on yourself and make yourself solid and then build out, I think that you can coexist, and I think you have futures. You've just got to find your place first and foremost and be confident in that place.
Absolutely. And I think it's a whole conversation that unfortunately exists in USL and in, NISA and,
No
when
doubt.
they were around NASL that again, you're fighting for relevancy and you're fighting for this. And it felt like San Diego had done it and they did everything right by their fans. And, I think that's where it comes down to. I think for owners, I think Las Vegas is a good example of this too, in the opposite direction, where their owner was pretty upfront of we are creating a team so we can be bought by MLS because everybody wants Las Vegas right now. And I think he realized that there are very few teams that jump up from USL to MLS anymore,
Yeah.
right? Because you have Austin, the Boulder right there. They could have taken that ownership. Didn't happen. I mean, yeah, Las Vegas right there. They could have taken the Lights, well, would they? And gone MLS. They could have gone out to San Diego and said, "Loyal, here you go." I mean, they had Landon Donovan. It was a perfect storyline, but investors are investors are investors, right?
Hmm.
And if they didn't have it, they don't have it. I think it's one of those things that's a cautious tale of if you do everything right and you show MLS that you can, or whatever league that you can, be careful because you may not be going with them.
Should the Lights with Iowa and Rhode Island coming in next year, should the Lights drop to League One?
They should have dropped League One a long time ago. And it would help the Western Conference side a lot with because there is no conference. It is just West and East, but they're all together. It would help that a ton. If we're being honest, I think there are about 5 teams that should be dropping down to League One this year
Okay.
because they're not filling out stadiums. They could go to a smaller stadium that fits those requirements. They also are realizing that we can't pay all of these wage bills. We can't do all this. And League One is a viable option. I think in the end, it turns into it's a little bit of a confidence thing, self-relegating. It's not even like we lost on the pitch. We lost with our wallet, and owners don't want to lose with their wallet. That's their whole identity as being rich. So I think there's a lot of confidence things there that doesn't work. But I mean, you look at even Chattanooga, who they're apparently talking about going up to the championship.
I saw that.
And that's frankly a horrible decision on their part. They're not going to be able to poach Chattanooga FC fans. They're loyal. They are not going to leave their club, and just going up to second division doesn't do enough for most people. To people that weren't already supporting Red Wolves or Chattanooga FC, it's still minor league. Who cares? And I think a lot of clubs should find League One to be a competitive option, a viable option where you can still build a community club. And I think it would help both league ecosystems as a investors' wallets as well.
5 teams in League One are chasing after the final 3 playoff spots. They got a handful of matches to go there in their season as well. When's the end of the regular season, Kaylor?
We got 4 more games, I believe. So technically, I guess 4 more weeks if you consider that. But I think there's 4 more games across the board for both leagues.
All right. So as a note, after the last regular season Saturday, that following Thursday, we will have you on as we traditionally do. If it is in a month, it's in a month. If it's not in a month and it's earlier, we have you on earlier, you and Morrissey, if you can get Morrissey away from all of his studies and chasing after his PhD-ness. Hit me with the promo before you go.
Hey, check out the interview with Ben Pierman. It's on all of your podcast locations on YouTube, the whole 9 yards. It was a ton of fun, and hopefully a couple more interviews on the way. We've been trying to get away from them a little bit because we want to talk about the league itself, but also it's so much fun to interview people, and Ben Pierman is about as fun as they get. So check it out.
At the USL Show on the 280 character app. And is that the same across all the socials?
Absolutely.
What he said. Kaylor Hodges, is always my friend. It's great to have you discussing everything USL Championship, USL League One, and we will continue to be philosophical and all these other things coming up in short order. Thank you, my friend. We'll catch up next time.
Thank you.
That's Kaylor Hodges, and he talks USL and stuff. And so we're going to,